We're going to start by tucking our chin toward our chest, and then one vertebrae at a time, we want to nice and slowly try to round the spine as much as possible and get as much flexion in the thoracic spine. At the top, we're going to get nice and tall, and then on the way down, same thing. We want to Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. Steven here with Team Euphoric, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to be your own therapist by demonstrating the top 5 strengthening exercises for posture correction, and more specifically, I'm going to be teaching you how to correct thoracic hypokyphosis. And before I get on with the exercises, I first want to explain what exactly thoracic hypokyphosis is and why exactly you should care. And in order to do that, I'm going to need the help of my good friend, Johnny Bone. So Johnny, get over here and show everybody your flat spine. With regard to hypokyphosis, this is the exact opposite of hyperkyphosis, and it is when you have excessive extension in the thoracic spine. And Johnny is the perfect candidate to explain it because Johnny has a very, very straight spine. Thoracic hypokyphosis is also referred to as straight back syndrome, and when you have that condition, what happens is you're going to lose the curvature in the thoracic spine. Ideally, what you want is a 20 to 40 degree curvature in the thoracic spine, and it should be evenly distributed between the top and bottom. And what happens is if you end up going below that range of motion, so if you have less than 20 degrees of kyphosis in the thoracic spine, you can develop things like shoulder pain, mid-back pain, neck pain, and a whole host of other issues. So you would want to address it immediately. And one of the ways in which we could address it would be to do some strengthening exercises for the muscles that are responsible for flexion of the thoracic spine. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing for you guys today. So without further ado, here are the top 5 strengthening exercises for thoracic hypokyphosis. For all of the strengthening exercises that I'm going to be demonstrating for you today, you're going to be in a supine position, meaning you're going to be laying down on your back. And the first strengthening exercise for posture correction to correct thoracic hypokyphosis is going to be for the rectus abdominis. Specifically, we are going to be targeting the supra umbilical fibers, meaning the fibers above the umbilicus. For it, we're going to go ahead and get into a supine position, and you want to flex your knees to 90 degrees, plant your feet firmly on the floor. Then we want to flex the trunk to the level of the T4 vertebrae. We're going to do that by getting roughly to the level of the shoulder blades. Then what we want to do is keep the chin tucked in. We want our arms hovering right off the ground. And then for this, all we're going to do is roll and unroll the spine to the level of the T12. Normally when performing the supraumbilical exercise for the rectus abdominis, we would go all the way to the level of the L3 or where your umbilicus is. But because we're trying to correct thoracic hypokyphosis, we're only going to go to the level of the thoracic spine. So we're going to be working primarily in external range and also mid-range. So you're just going to curl yourself up to the level of the thoracic spine, so T12, and then come all the way back down to the level of your T4. And then this is the strengthening exercise for the rectus abdominis muscle, specifically the supraumbilical fibers. Next, the second strengthening exercise for posture correction to correct thoracic hypokyphosis is going to be for the external oblique. For the external oblique, it's basically the exact same setup, and the concept is the exact same. Normally, we would go to the level of the umbilicus, but because we're doing the supraumbilical fibers and because we're targeting the hypokyphosis correction, we're not going to go that low. We're only going to go to the level of T12. But once again, we're going to be elevated with the contralateral arm, so the arm opposite side that you're working. What you want to do is you're going to go ahead and place it on your shoulder. Then with the ipsilateral arm or the arm that you're working, you're going to go into maximum extension of elbow and wrist, maximum external rotation, and then you are going to project your palm on a diagonal. So you're going to go out about 45 degrees. Then for this exercise right over here, what we want to do is roll and unroll the spine. We're going to go into flexion, and we're going to couple that with rotation of the spine. So we're going to rotate away from the side that we're stretching. And with regard to this, one important thing worth noting is when you are doing the strengthening exercise for the external oblique, you want to make sure that you end up crossing the midline. But that was the strengthening exercise for the external oblique. Next, the third strengthening exercise for posture correction to correct thoracic hypokyphosis is going to be for the internal oblique. For the internal oblique, everything's exactly the same. Knees are at 90. We got a nice flat spine in the lumbar spine. We're going to be targeting the supraumbilical fibers, but we're only going to be going to the level of T12. And for this one, what we want to do is once again, take the contralateral arm, you're going to wrap it over your shoulder, take the ipsilateral arm, extension of elbow and wrist, maximum external rotation of shoulders, project this one forward instead of on a diagonal, and then once again, we're going up to the level of T4. Then for this one, what we want to do is a side bend and flexion. So we're going to do a ipsilateral side bend, so we're going to bend toward the side that we're strengthening, and then we're going to do flexion. And this right over here is the strengthening exercise for the internal oblique. And one thing worth noting is you do not want to cross the midline on this particular exercise. The next, The fourth strengthening exercise for posture correction to correct thoracic hypokyphosis is going to be for the psoas major. With regard to the psoas major, we're specifically going to be targeting the antero-medial fibers and even more specifically the proximal attachment. The reason we're doing that is because the proximal attachment, or at least the most proximal portion, attaches to the T12 vertebrae, and the T12 vertebrae is going to be the most medial. So that is why we are doing the antero-medial fibers of the psoas major, and specifically the proximal fibers. For this one, once again, we're in a supine position. You want to go ahead and you want to flex the contralateral hip and knee. So what you're going to do is take the leg that we're not working and you're going to flex the hip and knee, plant your foot firmly on the ground. With the arm, you could take your arms, put them at the level of the glenohumeral angle. If you don't know where that is, between 90 to 135 degrees. For the average person, when your arms are fully extended and the palm is at your level of your head or slightly higher, that's going to be the glenohumeral angle. Then, for this, all we're going to do is we are going into hip flexion. And then if you want to progress this, what you could do is add an ankle weight or even something like a weight at the knee. The closer the weight is toward the distal portion or the closer toward the heel, the more difficult it's going to be. But this is the strengthening exercise for the psoas major, and more specifically, that is the strengthening exercise for the anteromedial and the proximal portion of the anteromedial fibers of the psoas major. The fifth and final strengthening exercise for posture correction to correct thoracic hypokyphosis is going to be the abdominal cable curl up. For this one, we're going to need a couple pieces of equipment. We're going to need either a cable machine, or if you don't have a cable machine, you can use resistance or strength bands. And we're also going to need a yoga block. If you don't have a yoga block, you could also use something like a towel or anything to squeeze in between your thighs. For it, we want to set the cable at the highest attachment. And then with regard to the cable stack, the more weight that you have on the stack, the easier this exercise is going to be. So if you're very deconditioned, set the weight a little bit higher. First thing we want to do is go ahead and grab a hold of the cables. Then, from this position right over here, what we want to do is we are going to take our yoga block and we're going to place it between our knees and we are going to squeeze together with our knees. Then, what we want to do is we are going to go ahead and we are going to lie down in a supine position, so lay down on your back. And then from here, what we want to do is curl up, as the name of the exercise implies. For the actual curl up, we're going to start by tucking our chin toward our chest, and then one vertebrae at a time, we want to nice and slowly try to round the spine as much as possible and get as much flexion in the thoracic spine. At the top, we're going to get nice and tall, and then on the way down, same thing. We want to try and go one vertebrae at a time. So try and touch the T12 down to the ground, then T11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then on the way up, T1 comes up off the ground, then T2, T3, T4, T5, T6, T7, T8, T9, T10, T11, T12. And this is the fifth exercise for thoracic hypokyphosis, and that is the abdominal cable curl up. And there you have it. Those were the top 5 strengthening exercises for posture correction to correct thoracic hypokyphosis. If you have thoracic hypokyphosis, or if you have issues with regard to neck pain, shoulder pain, mid-back pain, or anything else, go ahead and give those exercises a try. And if you have given them a try, go ahead and drop your comments down in the comment section and let me know what you guys thought. With regard to the sets and repetitions for these exercises, for each of the exercises, you want to do 3 sets of 50 repetitions, and that's 5-0, not 1-5. The reason we're going so high with the repetitions is because we're trying to elicit a postural change. And whenever we're trying to elicit a postural change, one of the most important things is going to be accumulating enough time under tension. And if we do the typical 8 to 12 bodybuilding repetition rep range, we're not going to be able to accumulate that time under tension. So 3 sets of 50 repetitions for each of the exercises. But that's pretty much it for today's video. This coming Saturday at 10 o'clock a.m., I'm going to be taking you through the top 5 myofascial stretching exercises for posture correction to correct thoracic hypokyphosis. And those are going to be a terrific complement to do with the strengthening exercises that we just did today. But that's pretty much it for today's video. If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to smash that like button so notifications keep making these types of videos in the future. And if you're either new to the channel or haven't subscribed yet, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell, as I will be uploading new videos every single day. That's it for today's video. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you again tomorrow.